We all know that the Straw Hat's journey through the Grand Line is heavily dominated by violence. This violence is enacted by the various antagonists and by the crew's battles against them. Being a shonen manga, fighting is a central element in the story of One Piece. And yet out of all the established Straw Hats, there is only one that actually embraces this need for battle and makes it a part of his ambitions and philosophy. Zoro is a fascinating character in many ways, but it is undeniable that at his core, he is a warrior. As a true swordsman inside the Straw Hat crew, he therefore rightfully holds the position of the fighter. And yet, I think that this position alone does not satisfy the potential of this man's unique and complex character. Much rather, it seems that Zoro has been introduced as the counterpart to his captain, that is necessary in order to successfully reach the top of the pirate world. I would argue that right from the start, Zoro has been Luffy's right-hand man, making him much more than just a simple fighter on the crew. Zoro is the Straw Hat's first mate. Now before we look at the actions and the characteristics of Zoro that qualify him for this position, let's first establish what the roles of fighter and first mate really mean, and what sets them apart. There is a difference between being a fighter and just being an aggressor. It is easy to push around those who are weaker and enjoy imposing your power over someone. As you might realize, there are many aggressors in One Piece, and it is easy to see why we detest them so much. A fighter is different. Fighting is when it's hard. Fighting means going out of your comfort zone. It means not giving up. It means hating to lose but learning from the experience anyway. Fighting doesn't always involve violence. It simply means giving your all for something by overcoming any obstacle in the way. Zoro without a doubt is a true fighter. He identifies himself by becoming stronger, fighting for his dream to become the greatest swordsman in the world. In any situation, he gives it his all, and sometimes even more. Zoro hates nothing more than losing, but even in defeat, he learns from his failure and draws motivation and strength from them. But what sets him apart from, for example, Luffy, who's also a fighter in the very same sense? Another meaning of fighting is that of battle. While Luffy wants to get stronger and faces off against ever stronger opponents, his true ambition is to achieve absolute freedom. Becoming strong is therefore just a necessary requirement that has to be fulfilled. At heart, Luffy only fights to resolve conflict and to help others. Zoro is different. His ambition to become the greatest swordsman in the world is built on a true passion for combat. His mindset and worldview are centered around battle and strength. We do not know how Zoro came to think that way, but we only know that he already strived for strength at a very young age. While we know that Zoro's character is much more complex than this, it certainly can be said that at his core, he's a person that has built his life around fighting. In other words, Zoro is a true fighter through and through. What then is the position of the first mate, and why is Zoro more than just a great fighter? Usually, a first mate is the top officer on board a ship after the captain. Famous examples of this are Sylvus Rayleigh, the first mate of the Roger Pirates, as well as Ben Beckman, the first mate of the Red Hair Pirates. First mates can fill a number of roles, from checking stock to making sure everyone else is doing their job on the ship, leaving their captain to more important duties. Since they are the second in command, they answer only to the captain of the ship. Essentially, the first mate is the crew member that the captain must put full trust in and pick very carefully. They are the captain's right-hand man, and if the captain's not at hand, the first mate is the next in line to take over the captain's job. Now, as you might be well aware of, the Straw Hats are no regular pirate crew. The members don't operate as much on hierarchy and power as they do on trust, loyalty, and friendship towards another. Additionally, the crew is ridiculously small, especially compared to any other major player in the New World. Based on this, one could make the argument that the position of a first mate or any type of officer structure is not really necessary inside the Straw Hats. This is also supported by the fact that no kind of officer role has ever been officially introduced for any of the Straw Hats in the first place. And yet I think that Oda has made it very clear that Zoro is supposed to be Luffy's right hand. Since the Straw Hats are unconventional in many ways, the same goes for the position of the first mate. On our hero's ship, it fulfills another purpose than on other pirate crews. Similar to Shanks or Roger, Luffy needs someone who has a more realistic and rational view on things than he does. Someone that tells him a hard truth or reminds him of what is really important. Based on that, some people argue that Nami might also be a good fit for this role. But the first mate also needs to be someone that can stand next to his captain in battle and invoke a similar level of respect and authority. Especially in the violent and conflict-rich world of One Piece, fighting strength is an important feature for any captain's right hand. And as we already have established previously, Zoro is without a doubt one of the greatest fighters in the story. So let's look at the other qualities that Zoro has and why they make him the only true fit for the position of first mate. What makes him more than just a great swordsman and a fighter on the crew? Zoro is one of the most loved characters in the show for a reason. While his characteristic 3-style sword and his cool design certainly play their part in this, for many people it goes much deeper than this. On the surface he may seem cold and distant. He is not someone to show an awful lot of emotion and is rarely seen joking around with his crewmates. And yet, being one of the main characters in the series, we have learned a lot about Zoro over the course of the years that might not have been obvious at first sight. So now let's look at 3 important personality traits that qualify Zoro for the position of the first mate. The first trait that we will look at is Zoro's strong sense of honor and loyalty. Having grown up under the strict rules of a dojo, Zoro has without a doubt developed a mindset that revolves heavily around the honor of a swordsman. He refuses to take any action that goes against this honor, even if it means putting his own life on the line. This was established very early on in the story when Zoro first faced off with Dracula Mihawk. His sense of loyalty towards his captain, his crewmates, as well as towards his ideals is repeatedly shown in various instances as well. The most drastic example of this is his sacrifice for Luffy on Thriller Bark, when taking on all of his captain's damage to protect him from Kuma. In other words, Zoro is the most loyal and honorable Straw Hat that has stood beside Luffy from the very beginning. Additionally, he also strives to uphold these ideals when faced with the other members' actions. His appeal towards Luffy to not take back Usopp without an apology, as well as his criticism of Sanji's decision to leave the crew behind, show how important respect and loyalty toward his captain are to him. This makes him the only one in the crew that actively tries to build Luffy's authority, so that his captain's orders are respected when a critical situation arises. The second personality trait that is often overlooked within Zoro is his kindness and empathy. Despite his cold and harsh appearance, Zoro actually holds strong ideals of morality and has a very kind heart. While he would do anything for any of his crewmates that he values very dearly, he has also repeatedly proven to care about strangers that are in need of help. He carried a man shot by a celestial dragon Carlos to the hospital to save his life. And just recently he defended Princess Hiyori and her companion Toko against one of the Shogun's assassins in Wano, even while fighting another opponent. Not only are kindness and empathy defining traits of the Straw Hat crew, but Zoro also has the power to act on it and defend his nakama as well as people in need. He knows what the right thing is to do and always stands close to Luffy to bring down those who bring injustice to the world. Lastly, being a true fighter, Zoro has a certain degree of ruthlessness and realism that are necessary to survive in the Grand Line and that his captain lacks. While the Straw Hats are the heroes of our story due to their positivity and caring nature, sometimes they can be seen as naivety. Zoro might very well be the only member that is able to do what is necessary to ensure his comrades' safety and survival. Unlike some of the members of the crew, Zoro does not shrink from the idea of using deadly force against dangerous enemies, and is known to have killed even before joining Luffy. Additionally, he also has a more realistic and darker view of the world. While Luffy's optimism and positive leadership style have brought the crew very far on their journey, it is nonetheless important to have a perspective in the crew that sees the things as they are. In this sense, Zoro perfectly completes his captain by bringing the necessary seriousness with him that has saved the Straw Hats more than once. These 3 traits, honor and loyalty, kindness and empathy, as well as ruthlessness and realism, make Zoro the only suitable candidate for the man standing beside the next pirate king. Beside these 3 characteristics, there is also Zoro's relationship with Luffy. As mentioned before, Zoro would do anything for his captain and respects Luffy really deeply. As the first member of the crew, he is what Rayleigh was to Roger, a partner that stands side by side with his leader through every situation. When it comes to any critical situation, Luffy and Zoro don't need a lot of communication to know exactly what they have to do. Additionally, while Zoro might not officially be his first mate, it's very clear that he's seen that way from the outside. Not only does Bartolomeo name him as such, he was also the only member of the crew that entered the group of the Supernova with Luffy. And of course, he is the man who will become the strongest swordsman in the world.